long story short, it ended up that it was something scary, and Natalie had to have her eye removed.
My name is Natalie Driver, and I've lived in Carrollton, Georgia my whole life. I'm currently a college student at the University of West Georgia, and I'm 20 years old, and I'm majoring in speech language pathology. I've been coming to West Georgia Eye Care since I can remember, since I was a baby, and I actually always loved coming to the eye doctor. I was always scared of places like the dentist or just going to other doctors, but I was never scared of the eye doctor. So when I was about 2 years old, I was diagnosed with retinoblastoma, which is a really rare kids cancer in the eye. My parents noticed that I had a reflection in my eye, and they would see it when I would turn to the side in my peripheral, and it was odd. They ended up sitting me down one night, and they were just looking at my eye, and my dad, he covered up this eye, and he told me to follow a pencil, and I did, and that was all fine. And then he covered up this eye, which is my good eye, and I was just 2 years old, and I was pulling on his hand, and I said, "Dad, I can't see." Then the next day they called here, and they told us, actually Tiffany was the one who answered the phone, and she told us to come in ASAP to look at everything.
They say, "Hey, I don't know if this is anything to be worried about, but I noticed her red reflexes," which if you've taken a picture and somebody has red eyes, it's weird, right? But the red should be the same. And her mom, I mean, this is literally a God thing, because most people, especially with a 2-year-old or however old Natalie was, would not pick up on that. She just wouldn't. And so she called and she's like, "Hey," she's like, the red's 2 different colors in her eyes, and she's like, "I think we might need to have it checked." I mean, I'd been working here for 5 minutes, it felt like, and I was like, "So let me go ask." Dr. Rothschild was here at the time, and I was like, let me just see if this is an emergency, or do we need to, can this wait till next week? And so he's like, "No, we need to go ahead and get her in." So they bring her in, and as with anything, there are ways to do an eye exam on a 2-year-old, believe it or not. Pretty successful. So we got that done, and I remember Dr. Rothschild telling me, "Hey, this is probably not good. We're gonna refer her out."
And they of course saw something, but they wanted us to go to Atlanta, so we were immediately sent to Emory Eye Center, and that is where I realized that I had cancer.
That could have gone so differently, and for her mom to just say, "Something's off. I noticed that this was a different color," was literally nothing short of a miracle.
The weight that it put on my family at the time was really hard, and the amount of prayer that I was surrounded with, so many prayer warriors. The day of my surgery at the hospital, my parents just said, "Oh, it makes me emotional," because they said there were so many people there that were just praying for me and wanting me to be okay, that in some ways I wish I could have seen it, because I was just so little. But there's so many people who've just been praying for me for so long, and then to be at the point where I'm at now, to be in college, it blesses people's hearts to see how the Lord has worked in my life and protected me through so much.
For them to have to go through that, and to see Natalie now as an adult and thriving and joyous and happy and basically unaffected, she doesn't show it, just is so cool to see.
It was actually, with the cancer, my nerve was literally removed, and so I had a prosthetic, and so I've never been able to see out of my left eye. I was so young that a lot of things weren't affected in ways that you might expect. I can hit a baseball, and I can hit a volleyball coming towards me. My depth perception is honestly amazing for the situation that I have. My parents were always worried about me driving one day, and praise the Lord, I've been driving for 5 years now, and I've never had an accident. It's so funny, because I'll tell people it feels scary to even think what seeing out of 2 eyes would feel like, because I'm so used to only seeing out of one. I'm like, what does that even feel like?
You know, we don't get to see things like Natalie's story every day, but Natalie's story is a reminder that, you know, when something like that happens, like, we've pretty much walked with her entire journey.
My story is so unique, and growing up, it was something that I really struggled with. There was circumstances where, you know, kids are kids, and they say stuff. So it was hard when I was little because I felt like there was kind of like some jabs or bullying involved with that. But as I got older, I feel like I've tried to like embrace it more and be grateful for the eye that God has given me, and I'm so grateful for it. Even in doing this, like, I want to be more open in the way that God has carried me through so much. And it also gives me a greater appreciation for what other people have gone through and the battles that they've faced. And I want to use my story to be a witness and a light in other people's lives, to know that God is still good and He works all things according to His purpose. And I believe that the joy of the Lord is my strength. And to have that joy and to think about what Christ did for me, that it's like, what else can I do but be humble in what He's given me and desire to let other people know that same joy. So like, it feels worth it to me in those moments to not dwell in the disappointment of, well, why didn't the Lord do this? Or why didn't He do that? Because you can look back in hindsight and see the ways that He moved and worked in those little moments, in opportunities that I would never have gotten.
You know, we follow journeys. I mean, that's what we do. You know, we celebrate births and marriages and anniversaries, and we cry with them when they've had a loved one pass away or a bad diagnosis for their health. And it's not just get them in, get them out, swipe a card. The people aspect is the most important part.
And so to somebody watching, I would just say to look around you and look for ways to rejoice. It's really hard in the midst of circumstances, but the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. And I would just say to be grateful for the things that you take for granted every day, like having two eyes. And I know that's something that like people don't think about, just like I don't think about. Like there are so many things that we just take for granted every single day because we are so selfish as sinners that we get so focused on that one thing that we miss other ways that the Lord is so good. And so I would just say to not have your blinders on so tightly that you can't find one reason to rejoice, because there's always a reason to rejoice, because God has given us life and we need to be thankful for the life He's given us.